Hello, this is a documentary about the concentration camps during the Holocaust. In these camps, protection squadrons, SS guards, would often punish and torture a person to death. These guards had orders to kill those who could not keep up with others. Guards tortured prisoners and millions have died. Cruel and cold experiment methods were used on them. There were many forms of punishment. The most common forms were gassing, medical experimentation, abuse, and burning.
If prisoners could not keep up with their physical work, they were sent to gas chambers and were gassed to death. People were ushered into anterooms where they were stripped down. Some chambers had fake shower heads and would have water on the floor, but that was for when guards would pour Zyklon B pellets through an opening in the roof, and once it contacted the little water on the floor, it would turn into poison gas. Some people scratched at the stone wall.
Prisoners were experimented on against their will and often ended up dying in the cruel process. The prisoners were experimented on to find cures for specific diseases. People who were sick were sent to quote-unquote hospitals, but were actually injected with phenol injections to the heart.
Other prisoners were forced to make their own graves and were shot in them by SS guards. Another common form of punishment was prisoners would be burned in crematoriums. The Buchenwald concentration camp is one of the largest of the old concentration camps, established in 1937 within the German borders. Nazis opened this facility for men, mostly for political reasons. There were electric barbed wires, watchtowers, and sentries with semi-automatic machine guns. As a way of torture, Nazis often shot prisoners in camp stables and hanged others in the crematorium area.
The Auschwitz concentration camp, built by the Nazis, was also one of the largest camps. This camp was one of the most streamlined mass killing center ever created. Over 1.1 million people were murdered. As a form of torture, there were many areas in the camp that held medical experiments. Two major killing centers located there was Block 11, a place of severe torture, and the Black Wall, a place of execution. The Bergen-Belsen concentration camp was also another major camp. An important figure sent there was Anne Frank. This is the place where she died. This camp was one of the harshest camps of all time. People here felt the same torture as other people in other camps, but it felt worse because of the sickness and malnourishment. In all camps, SS guards had orders to shoot those who could not keep up with others. This is a form of torture because just by not being able to keep up, you were killed. Another form of torture was sick or injured prisoners were sent to quote-unquote hospitals, but were actually injected with phenol serums to the heart. Another extremely cruel torture method the Nazis used was they would throw prisoners into dark cells with no light. They were tightly sealed and were left there to slowly suffocate and perish. Other unpopular/uncommon torture techniques were sterilization. For example, if you had brown hair, the Nazis would sterilize you so that you could not produce more brown-haired children. They would also freeze people and stretch them out on racks, and use the Iron Maiden as a coffin with metal spikes on the interior, giving the people in the camps no freedom. Block 11 was a major torture room located in Auschwitz. In between the 10th and 11th blocks stood the death wall, where thousands of prisoners were lined up for death by a firing squad. This block contained special torture chambers where various punishments applied to prisoners. Punishments in these areas consisted of confining 4 prisoners, who were forced by the lack of space to remain standing for many and countless nights, while being forced to work during the day. Here was the first attempts to kill people with the Zyklon B pill. How do you think people would cope with these horrible treatments? What do you think they did to keep themselves positive? Most Jews, if they could, would try to keep their faith knowing that God would help them get through all the pain they are facing now. Gassing, experimentation, and inflicting pain were huge torture techniques the Nazis used in camps such as Auschwitz, Bergen-Belsen, and Buchenwald. These places held the stories of many suffering people, primarily Jews and political prisoners, trying to keep their faith that they will get through all the pain and be able to reconnect or create a new family after the horrible cost of the Holocaust was over.